Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video where we are going to go over the release highlights for version 16.1 and 16.2 for manufacturing. So we will talk about the new occupancy on work center level, about the propagation of components, as well as a whole revamp of the work order list view. That was quite exciting. We will also see that we have a new and exciting MO overview, as well as the lead times for manufacturing that have been moved from product level to BOM level. Okay, first things first, in 16.1, you will now see that we have an occupancy on work center level, not only by hour as we used to, but also in percentage, as well as the total occupancy of the day, which will be quite exciting, I think, and very useful for the planning of your manufacturing orders. And next, we also have now a propagation of components. So in 16, we already had the propagation of quantity to produce. So if you change the quantity, the total quantity of what you wanted to produce for a manufacturing order, and you had a picking for it, it would already propagate that change to the transfer if it's still open to the open transfer. If you already validated your transfer, it would create a new transfer for the missing quantities. What we now have additionally to that is that we also have propagations on component level. So that means that if we change a quantity manually on component level, it will also trigger a propagation to your transfers. Not only that, from now on, you will also be able to directly get a transfer if the quantity that you picked was higher than what you actually ended up using for your manufacturing order, which is great because that way you don't have unnecessary stocks remaining in your pre-production. But we'll see how it works in a bit. Let's take a look. If we go to our manufacturing and we go to our bill of materials, like I said, now we have the manufacturing lead times that are moved to our products, meaning that for the same product, if you have different bills of materials that take longer or less time to produce, now you have that flexibility to display to put your lead times and define your lead times on your bill of material level. So that being said, let's go to our manufacturing orders, and let's say that for this one, we have already a work order, and then we are going to create another manufacturing order, let's say for a quantity of 5, which we will confirm. And now we see that we have a transfer. So currently we need ply layers and wear layers, 15 and 5 of each. So in 16, we already had the possibility. So if I just show you here the transfer we have for 15 and 5. So in 16 already, if you would adjust your quantity here, it would propagate the difference to your picking of components, which was already great, but it would not work for the differences that you would manually put here. So if I unlock my manufacturing order, so if you would make a difference, for example, here instead of 9.5, in 16.0, it did not transfer. However, from now on, you can make differences in quantity. So if I change that manually here from 9 to 5, if I save this, and I go and check, we see that the quantity has been adjusted to whatever we have defined here. So this is already great. Now let's say that we will validate here the picking of these components. And eventually, for some reason, I said that, you know what, actually, I would not consume 5, but I will exceptionally consume, for example, 3. What will happen is that another transfer is created for the 2 that you actually picked too much and you do no longer plan on using. So this is great because prior to this, you would kind of have to manually check if there's quantities remaining in the pre-production. Now the system detects it for you, which is a great functionality. Now let's say that here I will add an operation type as well. Here, and let's say for 60 minutes, like that, and I plan this. So now if we go and check our planning of the work centers, we have the percentage that we have of the occupancy. So we already planned 2 manufacturing orders for this month in our case. So we have a 48-hour week because, and it's only 48 hours because we are already the 23rd. But if I would, for example, put it in weeks, you see it's 8 hours remaining since we are on a Friday. But so if we have already 2 hours planned work orders, it will calculate for you now in percentage how much of your work center time already has been reserved and planned. And what's exciting as well is now you will see here per day the total planned hours of all your work orders, which is a great nice overview to have as well. So that's what we have currently for our 16.1 changes. Okay, so what about 16.2? Well, here we moved our manufacturing lead times from the product form to the bill of materials, which is great because this will allow you much more flexibility, especially when working with different variants or when manufacturing a particular product in different ways. So I'm sure that this will be very useful for quite a bit of clients, since it is much more flexible than having fixed manufacturing lead times on product level. Now, what is very amazing in 16.2 is the fact that we now have a bit of an alternative for the work centers, for the tablet view. So we know that the tablet view sometimes can be a little bit hard to navigate, but in some cases, clients still want to work with work centers and track the time that they spend on particular operations, but don't per se want to use the tablet view. Well, for them, we have a great solution because now you can navigate your work orders from the work order view much more easily. First of all, we can now validate, start, pause, and have all the commandos that we previously had on work order level, we can do now in mass, which will be great because that way you can just validate, start, and pause all your work orders at once. However, this is only possible if you have operations that don't have different steps or quality checks, which is obvious because in that case, you need your tablet view in order to validate and log particular information for your quality checks or to see what the different steps are that you need to take for set operation. However, if you just have regular operations that don't particularly need any steps or quality checks, then you can navigate easily from this view. Not only that, but you can also make use of the function of logging in using this list view. So we will see in a bit. You have to make sure that you still on your work center have the required login. And in that case, you can very easily see from the log in new operators or switch operators from this list view, and you have a perfect overview of who's navigating which work order, which is really great because, again, this makes it so you don't have to use the tablet view in order to track your employees and track the time or log the time for your employees working on different work orders. More so, since you are now able to assign, as you can see here, different employees on for a different operation on a manufacturing order, you are now also able to check the planning of your work orders per assigned employee, which will be great. And given the new feature where we show the occupancy rate in percentage as well as on a daily basis how many hours are logged, this is great because it allows you again a new flexibility to arrange yourself and your planning. Next, we have the MO overview, which is pretty much the same as we previously had on the bill of materials. So I'm sure you've already seen our new bill of material overview. Now we have pretty much the same overview on a manufacturing level, which is very exciting because you are now able to not only see the different dependencies when you are working with multi-level bombs. So if you have different manufacturing orders linked to your main product, you will be able to see them as well as the status of your order. But you are also now able to order and replenish either products that need to be purchased or manufacturing orders that need to be launched, which is really great because it allows you a certain overview of interdependent manufacturing orders. You also have an overview of when you can expect certain products based on the lead times of the components and underlying manufacturing orders. So we are quite excited about this new feature as well. Now let's take a look at how this actually looks in our database. Hey guys, so let's take a look. Here we have a manufacturing order for a wood panel. It's in status draft, and we want to produce 20 wooden panels. And if we take a look here, we see that we need to perform two operations in order to produce our wood panels. Now, the amazing new feature is the fact that we can now assign different employees to our operations, which is really great because I will show you in a bit, it allows you to also have a good overview of all the work orders that need to be performed by different employees. So this is a really great tool that can be very helpful for our manufacturing planning. As I said, since we have the ability now to add our employees and assign our employees to work orders, this will facilitate us greatly in the planning, because if we go here to planning to, let's say, work center, not only are we now able to see, as I said, the daily time that we spend performing different work orders, but you can now also here group by or filter by assigned employees. And this will allow you to see per employee what they need to work on a daily, monthly basis, which I'm sure is a small change, but will greatly facilitate not only your production planning, but also now your human capital planning. So yeah, let's get back to our wood panel manufacturing order. Now, on top of that, since we have the possibility so I will just save this. Since we have the possibility to define on a work center the ability for our employees to log in, this allows us also to accurately calculate the real cost of an employee working on a particular operation. Because if we take a look here, since we allow our employees to log in, it means that whenever our employees log in, we will be able to accurately track the real time that they perform their operations. Plus, since we have the ability to define different costs of employees, different hourly costs, this will allow the system to accurately calculate how much it costs for that employee to perform a certain operation based on the time they spend performing it. So I will show you in a second how that. What's exciting as well is the MO overview that I talked about. So here we see that now we can see perfectly what the different relationships are between the components, the operations that need to be performed, and the status of these either components or different manufacturing orders that are linked if we work with multi-level bombs. So here we see that our wood panel, as I showed you, was in status draft. And we have two components as well as two different work orders that need to be performed. Sorry. We see that the status here is waiting for components for the different operations. Why? Because we see that we don't have enough of our ply layer. Here we see the free to use stock. For example, here is 500, but nothing has been reserved yet. So let's go and confirm our manufacturing order. And if we take a look now, we see that free to use stock is now 0 because we reserved the 500 that we had for our manufacturing order, but we need 600 in total. So we need 100 more units in order to be able to perform our manufacturing order. And the great thing is now that you are able to replenish your needed quantities or launch your manufacturing orders if we work with multi-levels from this view right here, because we can just click on replenish and replenish the need. Moreover, we have an estimation of when we can expect our goods to arrive, when we can expect for our manufacturing orders to be finished. So if we go and say that, for example, instead of 100, I actually want to order some more, let's say I will order 500s. You can select here a route, but if you don't specify, the default route set on the product will be used. So let's say we will confirm, and we see that a purchase order is created. Now, if I go and validate my, or let's say I will change my expected arrival to Friday. If we go back to our overview, we see that the time when we can expect for our goods to arrive has changed, as well as when we will be able to actually finish our manufacturing of the wood panel. So you are perfectly able to track the different impacts of your components that arrive too late, your child MOs that are delayed with the production. So this way you have a very accurate overview of when you can expect your finished product to be ready in your stock. So this is really great. So let's say I was actually still able to receive my goods today. And if I take a look here to my overview, we see that now the status has changed to available and I am able to perform my manufacturing order because the status has changed. And also we see that the first operation is also ready to be performed. So let's take a look at how we can do so. So we all know our, well, or I hope that most of you know how to navigate the tablet view, which is really great, a really great tool to use. But we know that for quite a bit of clients, it is a bit complicated to use the tablet view. So now we have a very exciting new way of navigating actually your work orders from a more simplified view. So if you come to your work orders now, you can see here on top that Doris Cole is currently logged in as a user. So if we click on Doris, we see that nothing, she is not working on any work orders yet. And what's great from here is that not only do you have an overview of what your employees are working on, you can also directly from this view add a new operator. This means that you can have just one tablet, for example, or one computer at your production zone that can be used by multiple employees at the same time. So you no longer have that tablet view where you need to log in and log out of. You could just simply add a new employee from here, and you see that the employee who is recently logged in as last person is displayed right here. Now, if I were to change very easily from Ellie to Abigail, what is possible now is to start your work order. And we see that by default, Abigail is logged in here as the employee who's working on my work order. And if I click on here, I see that Abigail currently is working on my manufacturing order 16 as well as the time. So she is able to pause from here, or if I'm Doris, for example, and I want to start my next work order, I'm able to do so. And we see that now Doris is logged in and performing the second operation. Again, if we click on this overview here, we have a good overview at what the employees are currently working on. So this is a very easy way of still tracking and still using the work orders and the real time performing different operations without having to use the tablet view, which we know is a bit complicated for some of our clients. So this is a very nice simplified way of still working with work orders, having that perfect traceability of real time spent, and having an accurate cost calculation for the performed operations, the used components, and so forth. So from here, you are able to also very easily adjust your real time spent performing your operations. And let's say my employees have done the work. What will happen is, let's take a look at an already finished manufacturing order here. So what would happen is, if we take a look here at the cost analysis, we have a perfect overview of the actual cost of our employees with the time that they spent performing these operations. So Abigail was working on the cutting of our plies, and we see that the cost of Abigail, the per hour, is 10. The cost of my assembly line here is 34. So this is the total cost for the performance of this operation. So if we take a look here at our valuation, at our overview, we see that the total cost of the operation cutting is 44, which is the cost of Abigail multiplied by the time that she spent performing the operation, plus the cost of the work center. So you have a very accurate cost. More so, we have here Doris, who has a differently hour rate and also spends some time working at an operation. And we see that given the fact that we can now specify the hourly cost, we can very accurately calculate how much time and money it actually costs for us to perform different operations. So this is a very great way of having an easy way of navigating the work orders, having an accurate cost calculations without having to use the tablet view. So I hope this will be helpful for you guys.